My breakfast. Time now to talk the high-tech stories of the week. We do that with Paul Brislen, twitter.com/Paul Brislen, head of the Telecommunications Users Association of New Zealand. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. Scaring myself with the size of the giant head.
For those watching the live video stream. Now, first story today is a local one. The replacement, finally found a replacement for the CEO of Telecom. Who is it?
That's right. It's a chap called Simon Moutter, who's currently the CEO of Auckland Airport. But previously, in a previous life, let me just turn all the things that are blinging off. In a previous life, Simon was the Chief Operating Officer of Telecom New Zealand itself, back when Teresa Gadding was in charge. So for the better part of 6 years, Simon was Teresa's right-hand man. He ran the local business while she concentrated on the broader business picture of Telecom International, AAPT in Australia, the whole lot. And he was responsible for running the day-to-day operation of Telecom NZ.
Okay. Now, Teresa came out and said, well, actually, I would have chosen him. In fact, I really wanted him to go after me. I wanted him to be the successor. Now, when Teresa Gadding says something like that, that's when alarm bells go off for me because, well, whoever she wants can't be good for the consumer.
Well, that seems to be the approach that most of the industry is taking at the moment. Simon's got a very big job ahead of him correcting that view because he really was the hard man of Telecom back in the day. He was responsible for, as I said, day-to-day operations. So he was responsible for cost-cutting measures, staff, hiring and firings, that kind of thing.
Confusion tactics? Was he responsible for confusion?
Let me tell you a story. I was at a press conference where Simon was telling us how Telecom's retail price for broadband was the best in the Western world. And I said, well, hang on, you've got this product called Jetstream 30,000, which is 30 gigabytes of data per month for $2,400 plus GST. How can you claim that's a good price when in America the same kind of thing would cost you about $70 US?
Yeah.
And he said, no, we have no such product. I don't know where you've got that from, but you're making it up. And somebody else at the press conference said, well, actually, I'm looking at your website here. I've got this lovely little thing called a T-stick, which I put in the side of my laptop and allows me to connect to the internet wirelessly.
Yeah.
And I can see your website, and here it is, Simon. Look, see Jetstream 30,000, $2,500 plus GST. And he refused to look at it. So I don't know if it's confusion so much as bullish pig-headedness, but he certainly had a particular view of the world, and there was no getting around it. Now, to be fair to the man, I don't like to hold a fellow's previous job against him, because that would be churlish of me. And also, he was the chief operating officer under somebody else's regime. So, in that kind of role, you're required to do what is expected of you by your CEO. As the head man himself, he's got quite a different responsibility. He's got to set the tone. He's got to define the culture of the place, and he's got, he's got 4 or 5 years' experience now outside running Auckland Airport, which is hopefully going to stand him in good stead.
And of course, Telecom's a different business. It's been split up since the Gadding days.
Yes, yeah. Well, Simon's only ever run monopolies, as far as I can tell. He was the CEO of a power company. He of course went to work for Telecom when it was a monopoly. He's run the airport, which is an actual monopoly as well. And now he's coming into a hopefully highly competitive retail environment where he doesn't have the natural leg up that running a monopoly gives you. He's got to consider the move to the ultra-fast broadband project. He's got to consider possibility that Southern Cross Cable will end up with a competitor from Pacific Fibre or from this Chinese consortium. He's got to consider a whole raft of changes to the business. At the same time, he's also got to figure out what he's going to do with 6,000 or 7,000 staff when his new business is probably on a par with Vodafone New Zealand, for example, which runs with 1,800 staff. So, there's going to be some big questions for whoever's running the company. Simon is familiar with the culture, so hopefully he can jump in with both feet and do the right thing. It'll be very interesting to see how he gets on.
Certainly will be. Moving on to one of the tech stories that has rocked the technology worldwide over the past 24 hours or so. Google has finally admitted that they had been working on something called Google Drive, and in fact they released it. I just managed to open up my drive last night. What is it, Paul?
Oh, Google Drive. Well, this is just like Dropbox, or there's a whole raft of them now. Apple with its iCloud product. This is a way of storing your files in the cloud, or as Microsoft likes to call it, because they're also in there as well, in the sky. Which is very nice of them. Marketing, you've got to love marketing. The colouring in department, what can you do without them? But these guys are all now fighting tooth and nail for you to store your content with them out there in the broader world, so you can access it from any device. This is quite cool for us users, but it raises some big questions, I think, around control of copyright material and the sort of things we've seen with our good friends at Mega Upload.
True that. These services aren't all that different to what Mega Upload was offering, right?
Well, they're not. They are private file sharing sites. So if I upload my files and my content, I then have to invite you personally to have a look at them, which is the main difference. With Mega Upload, I could make it all publicly available and anybody could download it, which sort of does tend to lead to shenanigans and fun and games. But if I was the Department of Justice and I was going after these companies for daring to infringe on copyright material and make such files available, you'd have to ask yourself, if everything else is in the cloud, why wouldn't the copyright material be going there as well? Let's have a close look at Microsoft and Google and Apple, and maybe we need to send in the helicopters and the boys with the shotguns to sort them out as well.
Yeah. Interesting that Dropbox this week also released another feature, and that is being able to share links to your content in the cloud, which is exactly one of the reasons why Mega Upload was accused of criminal conspiracy.
Exactly, because what you're doing is enabling someone to make public files which they may or may not have the rights to do so. And that is at the heart of the Mega Upload legal case. Did they knowingly make this stuff available? Is it something that they should have foreseen coming? And in the US, they have these things called safe harbor provisions, which allows the telco or the ISP, or in this case, the service provider, to say, look, we did our best. We policed what we were pointed to. We engaged with the copyright holders and tried to sort all of this out. Mega Upload says that it did exactly that, and looking at the press reports of the negotiations going on with the rights holders before the arrests were made, you'd have to say that they could well be covered by fair use policies and the safe harbour provisions. But it appears that it didn't make an awful lot of difference to the Department of Justice. Indeed.
Final story, Eugene Kaspersky, who's the CEO of the influential Kaspersky security firm, said that Apple is 10 years behind Microsoft in terms of security. This has really rattled the nest.
It has, hasn't it? Rats among the pigeons. He's and now, of course, he's somewhat biased because he sells security software. So you've always got to be a bit cautious when these guys say, there's a big security problem here. But for many years, Apple's main defense against all kinds of security threats was, well, we're not Microsoft, so don't worry about us. And most of the hackers didn't. They just moved on. And it's only now we're starting to see any real attention being paid to Apple products, particularly the iOS area. We're starting to see some problems coming through. We've already had a big malware problem with Apple Macintosh. Such as it is, what is it now these days? OS X. It's starting to impact on everybody. And instead of being able to hide behind anonymity and obscurity and a small market share, in fact, Apple is hoist on its own petard here. We will have to start seeing a lot more emphasis paid to security, but by the Apple guys. But I think they're probably up to that task. What did they do? A record quarter last year, $6 gazillion in earnings and revenue, and they don't really know what to do with it all. So I imagine they'll throw $500 gazillion or two at the security problem.
And that's when I get on my high horse and say I don't have any Apple or iOS products, but I do run a laptop that's on Ubuntu. And I should mention today that just today, this morning, Ubuntu have released a new version of their operating system. This is a Linux-based operating system. Obviously, they don't have any security problems, being a small market share and open source, constantly patched. They've just released 12.04, but the first version of 12. So there you go. Go and get that. So it's very nice desktop operating system.
It looks good. It does look quite nice there, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you're running Windows, you would just fall into this so easy. It really is no difference. Nice. Go check that out at Ubuntu.com.
And that's the solution to all of this. You make it as difficult as possible for them to target one operating system and have a broad impact. If we're all on different operating systems, then it reduces the target size.
Yeah, exactly. Nice one. Paul Brislen on Twitter. If you want to continue the conversation there, have a great weekend, mate. See ya.
And you, take care.